Okay, good morning, good evening, wherever you happen to be. I am Jim Quanci, Senior Director, Developer Advocacy and Support, to do the introduction keynote talk for Autodesk DevDays 2021. I do want to recognize, I believe this is our 25th DevDays. So our first DevDays was it 1996 maybe? Where we started doing these road shows going around the world. Yes, this last year has been a strange year. No road shows. Hopefully we'll get back to that next year and have that ability to see people in person. Um, and I do want to thank those of you who've been coming to Dev Days, whether kind of in person or virtually these last few years, for being with us all this time. Our theme for today, desktop and cloud together. This is actually the same theme we've been using for, I think, 2 years now. It's become really clear to us, we've been talking a lot about cloud, the last 5-6 years. People on the desktop may feel like, what about me? We really felt it was important to push cloud because that's the change. That's kind of the painful part. That's the part you have to learn. That's the part that's less predictable, that we're all developing businesses together. And now as things are maturing, it's really become clear to us, it's about how the desktop and the cloud work together. The desktop as the place where much of the world creates and edits CAD data, and I'll say design and make data. And cloud is the place where people collaborate, where people share, where people work as teams, whether a tight team or a virtual team or a team made up of hundreds of companies. So you'll see a mix of both desktop and cloud and how we talk about them coming together, and also how you can use your skills, whether desktop and cloud, together to build new solutions, to build new automations, to build dashboards, to help with better decision making. And you'll hear about more of that as I talk. I did want to recognize, this is something I tell my staff, my team, every quarter when we have our all hands meetings. I make clear to them what their priorities should be. I thought I'd share this with you because I think we're all kind of struggling with this. So I tell my folks, your health, your personal health has to come first. It actually needs to come before your family, because if you don't have your health, you become a burden on your family, and no one wants to be a burden on their family. Then your family, and then your job. And this, usually one is I'm a little softer on, I'm not too sure, should we do this or do that? I don't know, you'll have to decide for yourself. But in this case, I like to be a bit more directive. It really is in this order: your health, your family, then your job. And that's the right order. So I hope everyone's hanging in there. Vaccines are coming faster in some parts of the world than others, but I know I personally see light at the end of this tunnel, and I'm looking forward to a time, maybe in the fall, where I can actually see some of you and a lot of my team members face to face as real people, shake hands, maybe a hug. It's been such a long time coming. Okay, our agenda. So today's the keynote. We'll have a Forge update tomorrow. Thursday, it'll be the construction cloud. Next week's going to be desktops. And notice the desktop presentations are all ADN members only, people who are under NDA, who have confidentiality agreements with us. And as I mentioned, with the desktops, we need to be careful not to release information ahead of their being publicly released, except for people who are under NDA with us, which are all ADN members and a few more folks. So I hope you'll join us for all these. But again, we will be recording all of these. Something I thought I'd start with, you invest in Autodesk, whether it's in our technology or your partnership with us, growing your business. I thought I'd continue on with something I showed last year, which is how we're doing in terms of subscribers. We just closed our fiscal year and we're just over 5.3 million subscribers. Subscription growth has been pretty linear, as you can see. And it really is subscriptions, which I believe are 91 or 92% of Autodesk revenue today, that is really powering Autodesk growth. And when I say powering, for me, having been at Autodesk 32 years, this is kind of a landmark. We passed a major milestone in the last few months. For the first time, the investment community, the people who own Autodesk, value Autodesk as the highest value design make software company in the world. And some of you may go, weren't you always? And the answer is actually not. Dassault has been the highest value design make software company in the world up until this last few months when kind of Autodesk powered passed. So a bit of a milestone that I personally feel after 32 years at Autodesk and watching the growth and watching all the hard work. And I'll tell you, this growth, this valuation, a lot of it's due to you, all right? People understand ecosystems, platforms, platform businesses are powerful, lasting, high value, hard to replicate things. And that is something we have all done together. And for that, I really, really thank you. We really could not and would not have done it alone. Okay, the Autodesk App Store. For those of you on the desktop, this is likely the #1 way you find new customers. A powerful marketing tool to engage new customers. Thought I'd talk a little bit about how it's going with the App Store. Apps in the App Store are continuing to grow. You probably do notice here in this graph, it's a little sawtoothed, and that's about whenever we come out with a new release, we get in touch with all the publishers about upgrading to support the latest release, and we drop applications that are more than, I think it's 4 releases back, maybe it's 5. It's one of those. So we get a little bit of a drop and then we climb back up again. But continuing to grow. The interesting thing is, if you go back several years, the total number of applications for Autodesk desktop products, I remember when it was like 2,000, all the apps worldwide. And this is just the store. I would estimate half the apps are not in the store at all. So the actual number of apps, available for Autodesk desktops is in that probably 7,000 region. Now you may ask, why do you care? It has to do where customers go to find apps, to find solutions to pressing problems they have. Variety means people come back. It means you get traffic through the store. And if you're a retail company, you absolutely get that point of traffic is important. You want to be where the people are, where the people are with problems are looking for solutions. And the App Store has absolutely become that. And Autodesk has become that, a platform for solutions. Another interesting thing this last year is Revit now has the most apps in our App Store. Now, I don't think Revit has more apps than AutoCAD kind of overall in the whole, in the worldwide ecosystem, but it's definitely up there and it's growing rapidly, where the AutoCAD side, the number of apps is relatively flattish. Some of these other numbers, Inventor, Fusion, they seem like they're a different scale, but I actually feel pretty good because if you look at our biggest mechanical competitors, and the biggest one is SolidWorks, they're in the region of 350 to 400 applications. So we're right there with them, with Inventor, kind of fighting it out every day. The amazing thing is Fusion, which is quite a bit smaller business than Inventor or SolidWorks, but it's got a lot of apps. And that says something about Fusion really drawing innovators, early adopters. So if you've got a new technology, something that's a bit different, something that requires someone to be a customer who's willing to take a risk and be an innovator, Fusion is a great place to look. And then of course, Max and Maya, our business kind of chunks along. You may sit there and go, that's the smallest, but the Max and Maya users have the highest percentage of plugin use of any of our desktops. in the order of 60+% of everyone who uses Maxim Maya uses a plugin, which is higher than any of our other desktops. Revit's number 2 at just over 50% using add-ons. Publishers, so this is many of you, and that they continue to grow. You continue to grow. Publishers taking advantage of the App Store. Now, why am I talking about the App Store? So this is a lead-in to a point I want to make. Not yet. Slide after this. Another landmark this year. We reached over 10 million all-time downloads, and the App Store has been around for coming up on 10 years. And this year, for the first time, we did over 1 million downloads. So that growth continues to happen. So again, a very powerful tool if you're trying to reach new customers who are also Autodesk customers. But I'll tell you, the App Store has been a good marketing arm, a good marketing tool for you to find new customers, to create awareness. But you know, we have a vision, and it's to turn the App Store into a real store, a real, for you, revenue generating store, like the Apple App Store, like Google Play. We have that vision. We are starting to do the research. We are gathering information from some of you on what we need to do. And we know we need to replumb the App Store in a couple of different ways. You know, some has to do with license management, dealing with bulk licensing, dealing with prorating subscriptions so they align with platform subscriptions, the way we give you money. So we realize we haven't given you all the license management tools you need, which has many of you using the App Store to find new customers, to maybe sell the first app, to deliver a trial version, to engage a new customer, but really not using the store as a business in a box, which those of you who are small would love, right? We see that, the small innovators who really would like a business in a box, which is what you get from Apple and from Google Play. So just let you know, we are doing research here. The work isn't going to start this year in terms of actually developing a next generation store. The expectation is next year. I tell you now because I want you to know our commitment to making it easier for those innovators out there to build a business, have easy access, easy reach, easy management of working with Autodesk customers, and a show of our commitment to you and really building out the platform and helping you build your business. Okay, so that's been mostly a desktop, a little bit about the Forge ecosystem and kind of where we're at. Last month, we exceeded 3,000 monthly active developers. So with Forge, we don't count apps, we count monthly active developers. It's kind of more appropriate. It lets us know how many people are out there making API calls every month. And it's growing at about 100 new developers. And when I say developers, I don't mean people, I actually mean Forge accounts. It's growing at about 100 per month. So really nice growth, a wee bit of acceleration compared to the prior year. Big numbers. You know, those of you involved with Forge, you know, thank you very much. Appreciate what you've been doing, coming with us on this journey. And again, a lot of what we're doing is connecting desktop data with cloud, connecting the creation and editing of data with collaboration, with sharing with people who don't have access and don't want to have access to desktops. So again, Forge monthly active developers, you can see this numbers climb. It's quite linear, maybe a little acceleration, but absolutely moving along. Now the construction cloud, which we've done some rebranding, probably confused people. So you may see this as BIM 360, actual BIM 360 and the Autodesk Construction Cloud become one in the same thing as we move forward. Customers who are using BIM 360 can have both BIM 360 projects and Autodesk Construction Cloud projects all in the same interface. New customers can come in and just work with the Construction Cloud. Many of the APIs, the Forge APIs that work with BIM 360 work with Construction Cloud. So for example, the BIM 360 docs, Forge data management, viewer, model derivative, whether a customer is working with Construction Cloud projects or BIM 360 projects, it just kind of works. So making good progress. We're pushing 200 or so applications, commercial applications, working with the Construction Cloud, and that continues to climb. The other thing, again, this measure of monthly active developers. How many teams, again, it's a measurement of how many Forge accounts are making calls into BIM 360, are using BIM 360 APIs. And actually, the number working with BIM 360 is more than this, because if you're using Forge data management, you actually don't show up in this number, because that's not a BIM 360 specific API, that's a generic Forge horizontal API. But BIM 360, monthly active developers, it continues to climb. And we're just about to break through 1,000. So for those of you who are wondering if you should do, is it time to do an integration? The time's never been better. And this is actually a good time to start if you haven't started, because we know enough. We can give you access to both BIM 360 instances and Autodesk Construction Cloud instances, so you can build a single solution that works with both types of projects. So you can build a business on the big installed base for BIM 360 today, while having the ability to grow with us with the Autodesk Construction Cloud. Okay, what are partners building with Forge? Some of you have seen this. I'm going to do a little bit of a dive into 3 areas here. Digital twins, design automation, and then we're going to talk a little bit about data. Some of this you would have seen before, but I thought it would be good to reinforce where we see opportunity and we see people building strong businesses, strong revenue pipelines, and customers really driving digital transformation of their businesses in significant ways. Okay, so digital twins, automation, data at the center. And we'll start with digital twins. And I'm going to do this through live demos. And those of you who've known me a long time know Jim likes live demos. And let me get things set up here. Okay, this is a little bit of an industrial demonstration. Typical website built by some of my engineers. Actually, Peter Braz, I think, put this one together. It's got a Google Maps integration. It was actually done for a customer who asked, could you do such and such kind of digital twin, right? So you can reach into a specific area. The model will come up, and on the right, we'll have data. Some of the data is from the model. Some of the data is coming from a database, a data feed, IoT data. Again, you may want to call this digital twin, kind of depending on where you're coming from. You may only want to see certain systems. So if I want to take, the structural and the piping, and get that all out of the way, and just see the equipment, because what I'm really interested in is looking at real-time data on maybe this vessel here, looks like a heat exchanger, temperature, pressure. So maybe this is about operating parameters, but maybe it's about somebody who's going to go out and change some gaskets, or there's some maintenance on a pump, and you want to know, are things turned off? Are things safe? And this is the kind of information, because it's on a web page, you can have it on a tablet, on your phone, as you're walking through the plant. Also, you want to present issues, specific issues, maybe heat map based on temperature. Again, maybe it's some maintenance thing you're doing, or I want to see the issues in kind of a more visual way, right? Maintenance, what do I need to do? Pictures, and so on. Very easy. Peter built this in, less than 16 man hours, and he did it over, I think it was a week or two, kind of putting it together. So just want people to recognize this isn't that hard to do, and we're making this kind of thing easier. Another example, and this is pushing the edge of the technology, is around infrastructure. It's 14 kilometers of highway, and this is pushing the technology. But I'll tell you, we've got a customer who wants to do 200 kilometers of highway. And how do I do that? and have things kind of, BIM level information, but at a very large scale. All right, so I can come in here to this highway. So it's a very, very big model. And I want to give my thanks to Nor Consult, who's one of our customers who provided us this example model. And I can run along, pieces of highway, 2 kilometer. Oh, this looks like it's in a tunnel. 3 kilometers. I'm kind of outside. And here there's a report. Right? Some kind of pothole that needs to get fixed. We'll go to 5 kilometers. I actually have a live video feed here, showing me what's happening. So again, this is about digital twins at, infrastructure scale. Here goes my live video. But maybe I want this digital twin during the construction process, or maybe I'm looking at making some changes. And I want to pull up drawings, in this case, Civil 3D drawings, where I want to get specific information about a specific part of the highway, or maybe it's rail, cross sections, whatever it may be. So whether you're doing maintenance, whether you're a maintenance crew, whether you're in the engineering department, whatever, using Forge as a way to share information for better decision making, faster decision making. Okay, now here is our latest, and I'm going to call this a mix of viewer extensions and reference apps for creating digital twins. And in this case, the reference app uses Azure, uses a Microsoft, I'll call it the digital twin stack. Actually uses Microsoft, the IoT Hub, as well as their time series insights, which is Microsoft's Azure time series database. And it really shows you kind of the best of what's possible. I can go in here and pick a specific sensor. You can see information right there, in the canvas, on a side panel. I can do things like let time run and watch things change. In this case, it's temperature, but maybe I want humidity or CO2. And again, I can run time. Maybe I want to see it on specific floors. So give me the 2nd floor or the 3rd floor. Okay, so we are presenting to you, and it is going into public beta. So documentation, fully structured in the next week or so. So this easy ability to copy and paste, to take advantage of this reference app that we built, and these visualization extensions to do this, to do these heat mapping, to work with rooms, to work with levels, to do this time series kind of work, to do these hotspots. You'll be able to take advantage of all this. So you can very quickly and easily build this kind of digital twin experience. Okay, let me go back to my PowerPoint. At least I hope I'm going to my PowerPoint. There we go. So showed you this industrial example of a digital twin, showed you this infrastructure example, and we've got a few transportation companies doing some really interesting projects. And it was funny, we first showed this example, it's about 1.5 years ago, and we had customers go, does that really work? Like, really? And now we've got some real interesting infrastructure projects in the works. Though I will point out, and those of you who do infrastructure know, infrastructure projects tend to be, they're multi-year kind of things. Kind of nothing happens in a week. Little happens in a year, but over the long term, pretty powerful stuff. And again, this data visualization extension, just a note, if you're really interested in diving into what we've done here with the data visualization extension, we have a Forge Accelerator taking place at the end of this month that has a specific focus on data visualization using this extension, again, Hyperion. And we've got a special focus on the Autodesk Construction Cloud So people who are building apps that they want to run on both BIM 360 and Autodesk Construction Cloud projects. You may want to join us in our Forge Accelerator at the end of the month. Little bit more on what was going on there with digital twins. Again, look at that bottom row. IoT devices feeding data into Microsoft Azure IoT Hub, which feeds data into Microsoft Azure Time Series Insights. That's a time series database, right? Which then goes to your web server. You've got Node. You're serving up the visualization that Forge is delivering. Whatever the CAD model happens to be. Sometimes those models are being managed. In fact, of course, we encourage it. We are Autodesk. BIM 360, Autodesk Construction Cloud to do that, and then delivering the experience out. I will say we did this first using the Microsoft Azure stack for IoT time series databases. We have in the plans later in the year to do the same thing with AWS. If some of you are kind of going down this path with AWS, do not wait for us, but do reach out to us. We'd like to help you and at the same time learn, and that'll help us kind of more quickly put out this reference app and help you more quickly succeed with an AWS stack. Okay, so next thing I'm going to talk about is automation. Design automation APIs. These are our CAD engines on the cloud, headless, no user interface. We've been talking about this for several months now. The newest addition to the engines is Civil 3D. It still is in beta. We haven't quite kicked it over into general release. I will say there is no reason not to use it in a commercial live app. It works. We have a number of people using it. Being in public beta really means we're still working our way through performance, getting the stability, the reliability, higher than it's been, working through that. But it's pretty damn good right now. So what I'm going to do here, let's go look at an example of using design automation. In this case, design automation for Revit. So that shed you see on the left side, that is not the Forge viewer, because this partner wanted a very interactive real time. So they're using SVG. I think they're using some 3JS, not 100% sure. On the right there, you saw them seeing how big a building they could put on a given lot size, taking advantage of Google Earth. So they're using BIM 360 to coordinate, to save all their data, to save their drawings. They use the configurator to drive Revit on the cloud, actually create the building information model to extract drawings, plans, permitting kind of drawings, which can be key at this point in time. So I'm going to let this run a bit and you can watch. Did you catch there? It creates IFC files, it creates Revit files, creates Autocad files. So now all these files that we created using design automation for Revit are now being pushed to BIM 360. And we go into BIM 360 docs. Here's all the work that's been done. So that configuration that an individual did can now be shared with the whole project team to decide, hey, is this what we want? Did I get this right? Or the business person on the team may need to grab these drawings, grab PDFs for permitting purposes. All automated. Pretty cool stuff. Now, this was built for a company, Shedmate, who does these prefab steel buildings. Blackbird's the name of the company. The Autodesk partner who did this work. Real cutting edge work. Next thing I'm going to show you is an example of, now this is going to be live, and it's going to be a little, being live, well, I know most of you developers, you want to be real. It's going to do wheel design. So I'm gonna, and this was done by Adam Nagy on my team. Let's go for 19-inch wheels. Let's go for, what do you think? 8 spokes. Doing chrome. No, I'm gonna go for black. Brake material. Oh, ceramic. We want high performance here. Caliper finish. Oh, I like the red. Oh, and there's pricing, right? Let me hit update. Okay, you're gonna have to bear with me because this is happening real time. This is data being sent to the cloud. It's being put into a .NET app in Revit, not in Revit, in Inventor. Inventor is recreating the model, creating drawings, and then passing that back to Forge, and then getting it passed back to our website. This takes about a minute. So we're going to be a little patient here, and hopefully the internet is moving quickly this morning. And if it takes too long, we may move on to the next PowerPoint and then come back here. But this is something, if you're doing design automation, you will need to work on, kind of optimizing performance. We've been through this with a number of customers, helping you kind of profile your application and where the performance impact is. Is it about transferring data? Is it about keeping your data? Oh, here we go. Here is my wheel. Is it about keeping your data in a data center that is near where we have the design automation engines? Is it about your connection? Is it about how your app works? Batch versus kind of one task at a time, with the design automation engines. Again, in this case is Inventor. We absolutely can help you work with this, but compared to a real human having to do these things, I mean, save time, save money, avoid mistakes, give delightful experiences to the customer, whether the customer is an internal person or an external person, reducing backlogs that frustrate people, really, really good stuff. And let me go back to my PowerPoints. Okay, one more example. This one's going to be a video. One of our partners in Sweden called CADcraft has built this configurator, and it's for showers. And again, a mix of web technology. What you're seeing here is just standard web. Again, in a minute, you're going to see a little bit of graphics, kind of SVG-ish. But at the end, we want real drawings, a real model, a model that you can create the G code to actually drive the cutting of, in this case, the glass panels. All right, so we get a better look. You can see there on the right, the parameters that can be varied, change size, change finish, whatever it may be. Again, helping the customer, and maybe it's the customer, but maybe it's actually a designer construction company who's doing the work for the customer. So it's like a technical salesperson or a salesperson going through this with the customer, giving a very quick, easy, delightful experience that makes it quick and easy to then say to the customer, you see it, you get a feel for it, you get engaged, here's how much, say yes, give me the order now. And we're about to get to the model drawing part. In this case, it's actually Inventor in the background. But it's funny, at times you can't tell. Is it AutoCAD? Is it Inventor? Is it Revit? It's kind of surprisingly here, PDFs created, because that's typically what you'd hand to a customer. We have partners who are using the full stack. They will use Revit automation to create Revit families to hand the design people. They'll create Inventor models so they can feed accurate information to the factory floor or for fabrication, prefabrication. They're using AutoCAD to create very detailed drawings, cranking out PDFs. passing them back to the customer. Pretty cool stuff. Okay, and with that, something we've talked to you about for a few years now, but it's getting close, and it's such a big change. I do believe it makes sense to continue to get you familiar with this shift we're all going to be going through. That for many of you it's a generational shift, right? Evolving from files to data. Now, today's theme for DevDays is where desktop meets cloud. And it's not desktop going to cloud, it's desktop with cloud, using the right tool for the job. We're the same way with files and data. It's not files replacing data, it's files and data. Now, we all know there's a lot of data in files today that we'd all be better served if the data was in a proper database. Whether you call them parameters, attributes, block attributes, properties, whatever it may be, there's a lot of those things that people who are not designers, who don't want to touch a CAD system, need. They want to count, they want to schedule, they want to cost. And these things are best available through an external database where you can get up to the date information in a second or two, and not have to deal with opening up what could be a gigabyte binary file or set of linked binary files, and then processing them to get the data to then pass, which frankly is slow. And the people working with the data, there's a lot of data they may want to change. A fire rating, a color, a material. Again, you'll get people who are not CAD users, but are experts in their field. And they want to be able to make those kind of changes, again, without having to deal with a binary and a heavy CAD system that they don't want to learn to deal with, whether they're scared of it or it's not their area of expertise. So this is coming. We have every expectation of providing you through what we brand as Forge Data, that ability to organize, design, and make data in a way that people can get at it in a very direct way that has an intimate connection with the desktops, with the binary files, but without you having to go through what today is complexity. Some of you, right, you're having to use design automation to grab the exact information you want out of a Revit binary, Inventor binary, Autocad binary. It costs money, it takes time, and what you really want in the end is just a list, a schedule, a bill of material. Now, what you want and what kind of data it is will come in different kinds of structures. A graph database makes a lot of sense for kind of CAD information. But if you're doing bills of materials, a document kind of model or hierarchical model makes more sense. For some use cases, relational structures are better. So just know with what we're working on Forge Data, the intention is to support all these kinds of data structures. So you can use what makes the most sense for your use case and for what you personally are comfortable with. So Forge Data, building an improved, performant, scalable, resilient architecture and system. What we call fluent data interoperability, easy data access, granular search. Again, when the data is in a proper database, being able to search across what you might view as thousands or tens of thousands of binaries, but now with a lot of that information in a database, you can do a query, and instead of what could take hours of compute time, and that means cost and time, you will get very quickly through a simple query. Also, when it's data in a proper database, being able to link fields, link tables, so easy data federation, right? And other capabilities that support this collaboration between people who are comfortable in a desktop CAD environment and people who are not. Again, advanced querying, insights, and this becomes the foundation for machine learning and AI. That is absolutely going to happen. Now, you may say, hey, Jim, you've been talking about this for like 4 years now. Let's be real. And I will be the first to confess, we have taken 2 swings at this and we didn't get it right. It's tricky business getting performance scalability and cost all to line up. And we've taken 2 shots at it and we did not get there. But I'll tell you, our 3rd shot, it's looking good. It's being used today inside of Autodesk. Some of our customer-facing products are using it. We have been holding back giving you access because we've taken 2 swings at it, and we don't want you to take, the arrows, as we work through, making it performance and scalable and a reasonable cost and reliable. But I'll tell you, we are getting there. We're actually holding an internal hackathon later this month where we're dog fooding, where we have a number of teams at Autodesk using Forge data to build new experiences. We have 2 partners who we're working with closely. So we've got people outside of Autodesk who will later this month be touching, or maybe it's April. But later this year, this will come. So again, as we said in the past, think about what happens, what data that's currently locked in a binary that may be costly to get at, would you rather have externally? And then not only would you rather have externally in a proper database where you can share and link, but also think about how you control who gets access, who gets read access, who gets write access. Think about the workflows you and your customers would like. Because a big part of leveraging what we're doing with Forge data is absolutely going to be about having to think through where can I create the biggest benefits the soonest with our customers, with your customers. Guiding principles, hopefully give you a bit more confidence in what we're doing. Driving transparency, preserving customer data and workflows, and longevity. Frankly, binaries are a pain because they change once in a while. Or like with Revit, they change every year. With Autocad, they change every few years. With Inventor, they change on occasion. With Fusion, they change, Max and Maya. When you've got data in a database versus its primary location being in a binary, that's not easy. And I know many of you have had to deal with that. Again, we need it to perform reliably at scale. And when we say scale, Autodesk is about millions of users. We're talking billions of what were files, but will become, petabytes of data. And of course, extensibility by making it easy, APIs, SDKs that you're comfortable, that will shorten the learning curve for you to be able to adopt the technology. Okay, so you saw me talk about digital twins, automation, data at the center. A little bit about where we are today and where we're going later in the year. Okay, something I've been doing forever during DevDays, Autocad. Where we at? For those of you who've been waiting, what's the deal with Autocad this year? DWG format is not changing in the next release of Autocad. Autocad 2022, codenamed Sequoia. You like that Sequoia? Big, long, biggest tree in the world, long-lived, thousands of years. Now, your applications, whether it's Object ARX, your use of Visual Studio will just work. So this should be quite straightforward. Now, for some of you, depending on how you do your installs, you may need to do an update to support to recognize, hey, this is AutoCAD 2022. But other than that, it should just work. That said, go test. This is our intention. This is what we believe is the situation. But we are human, and sometimes, and some of you have experienced it, where we didn't get something quite right. And we have a huge AutoCAD community, a lot of creative, innovative people using our APIs, using our platform in ways we didn't always expect or suspect could be done. So absolutely don't delay, go out there, test your apps, so that before we release it, which is coming up in just a few more weeks, there's still a chance for us to kind of get at anything we may have gotten wrong. And that said, we are doing updates quite frequently, so we're in a better position to fix things that you may uncover. But let us know as soon as you can if you find anything amiss. And stand by for next week's session where we'll take a deeper dive into AutoCAD, Revit, Inventor, and a number of other kind of desktops during this DevDays. The other thing on the Autocad side, web APIs. Now, some of you may have seen it in Dev News, or you've seen emails from me. Maybe you saw it in a blog post. We are taking a hard look at exposing APIs for AutoCAD Web. Now, this isn't saying we're absolutely going to release APIs, but we're taking a really hard look at it. We're doing research. We've done prototyping. So would it surprise you to know we think quite straightforward we could release AutoLisp to run on AutoCAD Web. We've done some testing and we have architectures to support .NET C# apps using WebAssemblies. But the fact we could do it, the question is, should we do it? There are certain, there's quite a few tasks with AutoCAD that you kind of really need a mouse. And when we talk web, now we're talking tablets and phones, and trying to do things accurately on a web page. I want to snap, I want to close polylines, I want to have precise dimensions. There's that whole interactive experience on a web browser is different. And we're working through it, but we want to talk to you. What do you want to do with AutoCAD on the web? Is it about floor plans? Is it about schematics? What kind of precision? How much of all the dimensioning options do you need? All the different snap types, whether it's orthogonal or angular or grids or polar, we need to hear. So hopefully you've writing down this link here. And if you miss it, if you go back to Dev News, you'll find the same link. If you go back to our blog postings, do a Google search, you'll find this link where we've got a bit of a survey to find out what you want, what you're thinking, and we'll use that to create plans here. So again, not a commitment. We're absolutely going to expose an API for AutoCAD Web, but we have done our homework and we're getting to that point. It becomes more a business decision than a technical decision. And again, us getting more fine-grained information on what capabilities you want to see in an AutoCAD Web API. Okay, so we're reaching the end here. We are 50 minutes in, which is great. Leaves us a good 10 minutes for Q&A before we pinch people. And I know some of you in Europe, maybe some of you way east in Europe, where dinner is calling. Hopefully you will join us to learn more about Forge tomorrow, Construction Cloud. Again, that combination of BIM 360, Construction Cloud, Plan Grid, Assemble, Building Connected, our whole platform coming together into a single coherent, easy for customers to use and collaborate set of web services. And next week, deep dive into the desktops, AutoCAD first, then Revit, Civil 3D, Inventor, Fusion, and Vault after that. Again, next week, desktops are all under NDA, though they're really under NDA for maybe a month, because they'll be publicly released pretty soon here, at least most of them. And with that, we get to Q&A. And okay. Some questions. Boy, here's some people I could tell you've been working with AutoCAD a long time. Izar asks, AutoCAD Web, why without units? The AutoCAD, as many of you know, has been unitless forever. Yet when you dimension, you can use units, but it's inherently unitless. So yes, and I'm sorry, Izar, that's not going to change. There's too much built around the lack of units. And frankly, people depending on the lack of units, people being able to, that creates a certain flexibility. For those of you who use Revit or Inventor, once you put units in the mix, it actually removes some flexibility in what you can do. And AutoCAD gets used a lot of different ways. Okay, next question. Dawson, Okay, what is Autodesk plans for your Windows-based desktop apps now that Microsoft has unveiled the .NET Framework and .NET Core? Will Autodesk move to .NET 5.6 or perhaps stay with the .NET Framework? Dawson, I don't know. If any of my team is listening in who has the answer to this, maybe you want to jump in, or maybe it's answered already. Oh, it's not. I'd say, Dawson, why don't you check in next Tuesday when we go through Autocad in more detail. But I'm also going to ask one of my folks to make a note, because we can reach out to you directly, Dawson, and kind of give you an answer. But at the same time, we'll be sure to answer this one next Tuesday, because you're not the only one who has this question for sure. Oh, and I'm chuckling. Azar made the point. I'm using an old PowerPoint slide, and the copyright is 2019, and this is 2021. You're right. Thanks, Azar. Okay, other questions? We got a quiet group here. There's 92 people, and people are starting to leave. We're at 90. So I gotta believe there's a few more questions out there. So jump on in, even if you just want to say hello. I tell you, it's been kind of fun, though, in these COVID days, browsing the list of participants, seeing people I know, and, not being able to see you. Got a question about InfoWorks. Jump in on that on Wednesday next week when we're talking about Revit and Civil 3D. The presentation by Civil 3D will also be done by one of our engineers who's quite familiar with InfoWorks. I mean, as I'm sure you know, Oystein, there are APIs for InfoWorks. So I suspect there's more to that. Well, I know there's more to that question. It's about types of APIs, desktop versus cloud, and, how we're investing and where we're going. Some of the things we've done, like adding InfoWorks support to Forge Model Derivative. So definitely bring that question to next week. Kivan, I'm not going to pronounce this right. Kavank, if I say that right, wants to know about a replacement for Configurator 360. That Forge is still a little tricky for end users. Well, the answer is we are moving customers and partners who've been building with and using Configurator 360 to design automation for Inventor. We're absolutely making that move. Yes, it is different. To some degree, it requires more knowledge, but at the same time, you get more power and more flexibility. We're building code samples. We're holding people's hands. All I can ask is if it's a bit tricky, you should reach out. Let's have a conference call with some of my expert engineers in this area. I've got a few engineers who are expert in that, moving people from Configurator 360 to Inventor, and we are absolutely here to help you do that. When will we be able to get access to Autodesk Build and the new products via ADN to prototype solutions and such? So for those of you who don't know the branding, the new Autodesk Construction Cloud, the actual brand of the product is Autodesk Build. So there are two brands. There's BIM 360, Autodesk Build. You can actually work with both in your Construction Cloud hub, where you can have some projects on BIM 360 and some projects on the new Autodesk Build. Now, can you getting access? You can get a trial today. Just go to the Autodesk Construction Cloud up on Autodesk.com, start a trial. We have the ability today to extend that trial as far as you will need. Now, at the same time, we are just in this next week or two getting the ability to deliver you Autodesk Construction Cloud licenses, so you have a full-blown kind of customer experience of the Autodesk Construction Cloud. So that is happening right now. And as I mentioned, as you work through that, you might consider joining our Forge Accelerator taking place later this month. And it's for Forbidden City, I think's the name of our Forge Accelerator taking place later this month. But join there. There's also a blog posting that talks about licensing that Makako Harada, those of you who work with BIM 360 probably know Makako, has recently put out that kind of presents the details and kind of how to get your licenses, which is really your sandbox, your development environment. Today asks, curious if people behind the web architecture and BIM 360 site work together. Absolutely. Though there's probably a bigger kind of question behind that, in that you see differences. And there's no question about it. We have several different teams, and we constantly do this balance between what an end user wants, which is very targeted to that persona, and what someone who may be an administrator who's got to work across several different Autodesk platforms. So we're all constantly doing this balance. Also, our platforms move at different velocity. So what you'll see in one platform today, another platform may not adopt for 6-12 months. And during that time, there's a bit of a disconnect in user experience that over time then aligns later as the other platform catches up. It's just something we have to deal with. We do our best. Our user interface design team is very cognizant of making this balance between, do I make a change in UX to be modern and give more capability to customers who are demanding it, or do I hold back a little bit and wait for some of the other products, other platforms to catch up, so there's a more cohesive overall experience, and we're doing our best. Now, that said, if you have specific feedback, do not hold back. Tell us when you see something you think is just way too painful. If you think we've kind of not got that balance right, don't hold back. It's your feedback. It's you and your customers' feedback that drives that decision-making on how fast to move, where to move, what parts of the platforms to be consistent, what parts can the user experience be different. Oh, I've got a question here, is how to deliver updates to the design automation engines? So the design automation engines, so AutoCAD, Revit, Inventor, Max, Civil 3D. Every 2 months or so, we will do an update to the design automation engine. Sometimes it's adding capability. Sometimes it's a security question. We put out notes quite frequently. If you're a Forge subscriber, every month or two you get these notes. We also do blog entries as we're making changes. Also recognize it's versioned. So if you want to continue to use prior versions, so design automation, right now we're at design automation 2021, but you can work on 2020. I don't know if we still support 2019. I don't know if we go back a release or two, so we can give you some time to migrate. As you will see in the next 2 months or so, you'll start to see the design automation for the 2022 desktops showing up. Question from Dawson. In the App Store, what percentage of apps are free and priced? It's about 20% or so that are priced. And I'll tell you, we've had shifts. At one point, we were over 30% that were paid. We've actually kind of shifted back the other way. And some of what I talked about we need to make enhancements to the App Store to allow you to really build a full business, kind of business in a box. The licensing limitations of the App Store has resulted in some partners saying, it's not giving me enough flexibility. I'm going to use the App Store for trials, but when they go to buy, I'm going to have them come to my website where I can give them more license flexibility. And that is something we want to make easier, because for a big developer, managing all that license messiness is okay. But if you're a startup with 2 or 3 people, you really want Autodesk to take care of that messiness for you, to provide you that business in a box. And we are absolutely committed to doing that over the long term, but not again, this year is kind of a research year around building a third generation app store. Next year is going to be implementation. Another question, is the Forge team and the BIM 360 Construction Cloud web team the same developers? Interesting question. And the answer is it's a layer cake, because BIM 360 Construction is built on top of Forge. So there are kind of core Forge developers who are building technology that shows up in BIM 360, Autodesk Construction Cloud. There's also what we call build for Forge. So the BIM 360, Autodesk Construction Cloud team, inside Autodesk, that's ACS, Autodesk Construction Solutions. They actually build technology. They then hand back to the Forge core team that then becomes Forge technology that gets used across many different platforms in different industries. So it's a bit more complex in the way, you know, the best people to build technology build it, and then we make sure what gets built is shareable across as many teams as possible and shareable with you. There's another question. Is there a unified platform with the build brand down the road? The Autodesk Construction Cloud is the unified platform. That is the platform that works across both design and construction. So have no doubts that is where we are. If you look at today's Autodesk Construction Cloud, there are a few capabilities and modules that are in BIM 360 that aren't there yet, but that is absolutely going to happen. And the Autodesk Construction Cloud has capabilities that BIM 360 doesn't have and will never have. You know, things where we've done things like taking Plan Grid's mobile first capabilities and made them an integral part of the Construction Cloud. So the Construction Cloud, as it is today, is definitely tuned for construction, but over time, we are bringing more of the design side capabilities that were in BIM 360. So for example, Autodesk Docs, that is the exact same capability, whether you're using BIM 360 or whether you're using Construction Cloud, Autodesk build capabilities. So that unification, we're working our way through it. Issues, RFIs, checklists, submittals, asset management, costing. So the answer is absolutely. This needs to be easy for everyone to go, hey, what do I get? Not, you know, a big complex discussion. And we're doing our best to make that as simple as possible. But, you know, we recognize when one changes brands and one changes structure, when one unified in systems, it's a little confusing for a while. I mean, I know took me a couple shots at it before I was really able to internalize, okay, here's how the pieces fit together. We have had a number of blog posts talking about what's changing, what's not. And again, allowing you access to sandboxes as we work through this. But I'll tell you, we have customers using it already. It's going, you know, it's going smoother than I expected. You know, sometimes these kind of transitions are a bit bumpy. This one's going pretty good. You know, from an internal point of view, this is a bit about, you know, many of you may know the saying about sausage. Man, it tastes really good at the end, but you don't want to see how sausage is made. But it's been an amazing journey for me. Longtime Autodesker. Our Construction Cloud built up through a number of acquisitions, you know, bringing teams together to trust each other, to work tight, to trust each other. Hey, you build that part, I build this part, we'll come together to get to know each other's customers and needs and stakeholders. It's been quite a journey. You know what? I think we've really figured out how to make it happen. And some of you may have noticed, we just did a bid acquisition on the water infrastructure side with Innovyze. And I feel really, really good about it because it's a pattern now, you know, how to bring teams together quickly and get better tools, better services, you know, out in the hands of customers so they can do a better job with their customers, so they can be successful with their businesses. So we together can build a better world. And, whether it's global warming or what's been going on with COVID and isolation, and, we, all of us, all of you, we are in this together, need to do that, need to make that happen. Okay, where are we at? We are 7 minutes over. I had one last question here that I'm not going to try to answer because it's a longer answer. Kavang wants to ask about Forge credits and the such. What I ask is reach out, forge.help@autodesk.com. So again, forge.help@autodesk.com. Just drop us an email. Somebody will reach out, kind of dig through your questions about Forge cloud credits and consumptions and the such. And we have some tools that we might like to test with you that we're going to be putting out pretty soon to help people better work through consumption and cost. How's that work in a world, in a world of in a cloud-based, service-based world that I know at Autodesk we've learned to live through with our deep partnership with AWS, with Amazon. Okay, with that, everyone have a wonderful day. Thanks for spending all this time with me. And I hope we'll see many of you over the next few days as we go through DevDays over tomorrow, Thursday, and then Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday next week. Have a great day. Thanks a lot.
Stop recording. Stop recording.